behaviour charts as a way to change children's behaviour. The thing is, they backfire, and this is why I stopped using them. The idea that we're not in control of our children's behaviour is socially unacceptable. I used to feel embarrassed and angry when I lost control, so I used behaviour charts to help me, and I'm not alone. They're everywhere, in homes, classrooms, even into senior school. Some reward positive behaviour only, others punish negative behaviours as well. There are all sorts of systems that do this: sticker charts, traffic lights, computerized point systems, and many more. I've got 2 children, and when they were little, we used star charts. Now, the novelty of getting rewards motivated them to behave better. But soon, the chart became the subject of lots of arguments. Was I giving stars fairly? Were the rewards equal for each child? Soon, the chart became as difficult to manage as the children's behaviour. So I tried something else. I used a naughty step or time out to get less bad behaviour. This didn't work either. My daughter's behaviour didn't improve, mine definitely got worse, and our relationship was miserable. Now, someone told me you should ignore all bad behaviour and only focus on the good. That didn't sound right to me. I think unacceptable behaviour has to be addressed, but how could I do this consistently and effectively? Building on my knowledge of using relationship in a person-centred approach, I read masses of parenting books, updated myself on the research, signed up for 3 different parenting classes, and I learnt 2 valuable things. 1, there's more to behaviour than good, bad, right, wrong, reward, and punishment. And 2, changing a person's behaviour is not a mechanical system of control. It's a human system of relationship. So how did I move away from control and onto relationship? For stronger relationships, adults must work on themselves. If we want an authentic relationship with children, we must first understand ourselves. We need to discover our darker side, the parts we find difficult to accept. By being familiar with our own childhood memories and complex emotional needs, we will manage our emotions better. See, I thought to myself, if I freeze what I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to say, this is what happens when you're human. And if you start making mistakes, the last thing you need to do is be punished for it. You actually need someone to support you, don't you? So, thank you. So, it takes courage to be authentic in relationships because we feel vulnerable. But the result of vulnerability can be less fear. If we are less defensive, we can be more resourceful. So I moved away from controlling my children and worked on controlling myself. For stronger relationships, consideration is better than compliance. Let's look at why children comply and the long-term effects of this. Think back to a time when you were a child. You're with an adult that you love, or they have power over you. They ask you to do something and they punish you. They threaten a punishment if you don't. You've got 2 choices. You either change your behavior and comply, or you ignore the adult. We're more likely to comply, especially when we are young, because we want approval. Approval is really important because it means that we have a better chance of belonging. Belonging is essential because it confirms to us that people value us. It helps to give us self-worth. So if we withhold our approval of children because of their behavior, we threaten their sense of belonging and we place a condition on their worth. The child learns, I am good if. So this sense of guilt can be useful to us if we want compliance. But over time, it causes shame. The child learns, I am bad because. Children who comply have no choice but to hand over their control to the adult. Compliance kills curiosity. And without that, children soon lose their motivation to change. So let's see what this looks like in our young people. Take Ben. Ben resents adults and their power. He sees all behavior enforcements as a favor for adults. So he looks for approval elsewhere, often to his peers. He brags about being on report. He's always being put in isolation. He pretends he doesn't care, but secretly, he's worried about his future. He ends up being excluded from school. And here's Hannah. Hannah is hungry for approval because she has learnt to please people. She's terrified of making mistakes. She looks for direction all the time. Her grades are good, but she never feels good enough, which means that when she is given love and approval, she will often push it away. She suffers from anxiety, and it affects her attendance at school. So when I see or hear unacceptable behavior in my children, I use a strong logic to explain how their behavior affects me. And then I listen. Because what I want to do is give them all the information they need to change out of consideration and not compliance. For stronger relationships, focus on relationship. Have you ever been in a situation where you've promised a reward or threatened a punishment and it has made no difference to behavior at all? It's annoying, isn't it? It's because we turn behavior into a commodity, something to exchange. It works for a bit, but as children grow older, our power runs out. The rewards we offer are no longer worth it, and the punishments don't carry the same weight. Consideration goes, and because our primary focus has been to control behavior, we've neglected the relationship. Young people are not unreasonable on purpose. Their reasoning part of their brain, their prefrontal cortex, which is here, develops fully when they are 25 years old. And yet we expect them to behave like adults, often from a very early age. Rather than punishing them for being children, we should be working with their emotions so that they can learn how to regulate and use reason. So, I am not my child's friend. I actually try to be their prefrontal cortex. But sometimes I run on empty and I move back into control. But my children won't have it. Instead, they listen to me and use their logic to explain how my behavior affects them. Because after all, relationship is a two-way street. Finally, use your power to influence. You see the red bit on the graph behind me here? That's power, and we already know that it runs out. What we need to do as children grow older is to add the blue bit too. That's influence. Adults and children are not equal. The younger they are, the more power we use to keep them safe, to create structure, and to place limits that they understand. Now, wouldn't it be brilliant if our children made all the right choices all the time? It's not going to happen. Growing up is trial and error, and the answer is not to control them through punishment and reward. It doesn't work. Young people and children seldom trust, respect, and least of all listen to adults they resent. Our only alternative is to influence their behaviour. And to do that, we need to be leaders and not dictators. Relationship is the only place where children and young people will trust our power, respect our discipline, and be open to our values. So here's the idea I want to share. Chuck out your behaviour charts. Rip them off the walls. Delete them off your computers. They damage relationship, when relationship is what we need. Relationship is the brilliant human system of behaviour change. Now, if you've got a relationship which is a problem, look again. You may find it is also the solution. Thank you.